Perfect. All right, good morning, ladies. Welcome back to today's second coaching session with the BIC Africa Acceleration Program. Christina, we can go to the next slide. Oh, there we go. Yeah, welcome back. We are here for our our second coaching session together, our 8th session in total. Next one, Christina. You all know who I am by now. I'm Danielle Anderson. I'm here to support you throughout this journey. Today, we are talking about something that I am super, super passionate about, which is accounting and financial literacy, basically money. It's something that I'm really passionate about because over my 10 years of working with women in business, I see that this is a challenge that many of us have. It comes from all sorts of different reasons. It can come from the fact that we had a bad maths teacher when we were in school. It can come from the fact that we see ourselves as more creative or more emotional and less to do with numbers and logic. There's all sorts of reasons why I see women in business struggling with the financial side of their business. So today's coaching session is all about basic accountancy and financial literacy, and to help you become more confident with this side of your business because it's super, super important. I'm not going to take the stage away from our guest today, but this is just something I want you ladies to know that I'm really passionate about. And if you have more challenges after the session, please reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you further about it. I have other resources that I can share with you. I really want you to become more confident in this area of your business, because once you become more confident with money, you can start making a lot smarter decisions. Let's move to the next slide, Christina. So before we get started with today's speaker, I would love to hear from you in the chat. What comes to your mind when you think about money? What comes to your mind when you think about money? Christina, can you translate also for me?
Yes. Du coup, en français, à quoi vous pensez? Qu'est-ce que vous vient à l'esprit quand vous pensez à l'argent, en fait?
Great, thank you. Aiden shares independence, yeah. And to me, that's something that I think about when it comes to money too, is like money buys us freedom in a lot of different ways. It buys us independence, because when we can earn the amount that we need for our lifestyles and the life that we want to create, we don't have to be a slave to earning, right? But in order for us to do that, we have to be really confident about how much is it that we need on a monthly basis, how much does my business need to earn on a monthly basis, and therefore how do I reconcile those two things together? Yeah, Sandra also says financial freedom. That's the goal, right? Is financial freedom, that we have the money to pay for everything that we want and without having to stress about it month in, month out. Yeah, Herdoza, financial stability, Josephine, independence, business. Yeah. So you ladies are all sharing quite positive things when you're thinking about money, but sometimes money can also be the source of great stress, right? It can cause us anxiety. It can cause us to fear things. It can cause us to worry about, you know, where's the next amount coming from? Can I pay the bills this month? What do I do next month, et cetera, especially when you're in the early stages of business, or when you're being impacted by external factors like our economy in Kenya right now is absolutely appalling. You know, Sandra, I know that you're with me on this probably, like the cost of living is really, really expensive. And I know this is, you know, all over the continent, we're facing the same sort of challenges. In fact, all over the world, we're facing the same challenges. So sometimes money can cause negative connotations. It can cause us anxiety. It can cause us stress. And especially if it's something that we've been telling ourselves that we're no good at for years, it can also give us like, it can make us like lower our self-esteem as well, right? So without further ado, I want to hand over to today's coach, Hina Joshi. Hina is going to be taking us through an amazing module all about financial literacy and basic accounting, and helping you to understand the basics when it comes to finance, so that you can make more informed decisions, so that you can project your growth in your business, and also so that you can have these things that you dream of, like financial independence and stability. So without further ado, let me welcome Hina to the stage. We're going to swap over the slides and she's going to take it away.
Thank you, Danielle. Right, morning, ladies. Lovely seeing you all here this morning. I'm just going to pull up my slides there. Bear with me. Right, so morning, ladies. Thank you for that introduction there, Danielle. So this morning I'm going to be talking about basic accounting and financial literacy. So that's what I'll be covering with you ladies this morning, and looking at why you need to understand that and the importance when it comes to looking at your pricing and looking at new market opportunities, which I know many of you are actually looking at this moment in time. And then also we'll look into sort of your operational costs, what that looks like against your capital costs, and what you need to be considering when you're planning for growth for your business. This is also applicable for anyone that's in the process of starting their enterprise, or someone that's possibly looking to scale up their enterprise as well. So what this morning's going to be about is really giving you a bit of an understanding and the tools and the processes that you need to consider to ensure that you do have that financial independence, which many of you mentioned there in the chat this morning. So basic accounting. So what is it? It's the process of recording and managing your company's financial transactions. So it involves analysing, looking at reports and summarising what the business income and expenditure is, and looking at what you need to report to your regulators, to oversight agencies or tax collection entities. So, you know, we all have to account for what our business has generated, what the expenses have been, and then obviously what you have to owe in tax to the agencies that you need to pay that to as well. So there's a lot there, and it is a lot of numbers, but a lot of it is about understanding where you are financially in your business as well. So we need to look at how you record the information. Is this something that you as business owners actually manage yourself in-house? Do you outsource that to a bookkeeper or an accountant? And what systems do you use to actually manage your bookkeeping, your accounts, your record keeping as well? So are you using specialist software? Are you using the traditional paper-based system, or have you developed something yourself as well? So just got a little poll here just to gauge a little bit of how each of you are recording your financial information. So Christina, are you able to pull that up for us, please? So
Yes.
as you can see there, thank you. As you can see, there's just a little poll there in terms of how you manage and record your financial information. So if you can just click whether you use a bookkeeper, an accountant, paper-based systems, it just gives a bit of an understanding. Excel spreadsheets, that is a very popular and a manageable resource as well. So it'll be interesting for the ones that have said that they use an accountant. Do you get those reports as well? So that's something you'll need to understand. Are you actually talking two ways to your accountant or bookkeeper if you're using that paper-based systems? So just in the chat, for those that have said they use Excel spreadsheets, are you managing that yourself? Or are you using a bookkeeper or an employee to actually input that information for you?
So Aidan shares it's a team effort with a smiley face. Sandra says she uses paper-based system but manages herself. They're trying to move to Excel. And Joanna's translating also.
Excellent, thanks.
Josephine says she uses an accountant.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to just end this poll. And then going to move on in terms of what works for you. So for those that use an accountant, just think about the positives, why that works for you. Have you got a good relationship? Is that allowing you to work on other aspects or understand other aspects of the business? So I'm going to just stop that share. And so I'm just about to pull up a whiteboard here. I know some of you have used the whiteboards before. So down here, you've got on the left-hand side some buttons. So if you get a sticky note, if you can actually just share your tips or best practice for managing your company's financial transactions. So I've put an example up there in terms of using bookkeeping software, which updates with each payment and transaction. So I'm aware that there are some software applications there that you can use that will automatically record any receipts or invoices that you input, and it updates your books as and when. So whether you have any tips, best practice, even if it's using paper-based system, what works for you? And if we can share that, because that's quite a good use in terms of the share of best practice, we might learn some tips here.
Hina, can you share the link on the chat to the whiteboard?
Oh, I don't know how to.
So this one isn't a link here. So ladies, this is slightly different from the Jamboard that we used before. And instead of having to go to an external link, you should be able to just go on the left-hand side where you see first there's an arrow, then there's a pencil, then there's some shapes. But further down, you'll see something that's called sticky note. And when you click on sticky note, you should be able to start writing a sticky note.
It's here. I've just got the laser on. Can you see the sticky note? Okay, someone's put, we use a simple, okay, you budget track, yeah. Sorry, I seem to have lost the Zoom.
I think his writing, I think yours is writing actually, Hina, because there's some lines at the bottom. So maybe you have selected the pencil.
Right. So we only use a debit card for transactions, so that can easily be reconciled against month-end bank statements. Yes, it's very, very good technology in using card machines now. We use a simple 5-step process: budget, track our expenses, setting smart financial goals, reviewing financial statements, and seeking advice from an accountant or professional every quarter. Excellent. And I think that's a key thing, sort of seeking advice from a professional or an accountant that's helping you to understand what those numbers actually mean for you and your business. Understanding your cash position is a key part of understanding where your business is at.
We also have some shares in the chat. So Marlene says that she has software that records all transactions. Mercy says something similar, software which updates. Sandra says we track daily payments, sales and receipts and collate at the end of the week and monthly.
And I think having, you know, that best practice of reviewing and recording your transactions on a daily, weekly or monthly basis is key in terms of you understanding what works for you, but understanding where your business is actually moving towards. Is it moving towards the right direction? Right, excellent. I'm going to close this off. Apologies, I don't know if you could hear that, but that was just our fire drill that was happening there. So apologies for that. Right, so got a bit of an understanding of how you will recording and managing your information, which is great. So I'm going to talk now about financial literacy. So this is something that is very, very key in terms of understanding sort of your business position. So it's the ability to understand and effectively use various financial skills, including looking at your personal financial management as well. So a lot of these tools you can actually use for yourself personally in terms of your personal survival budget is what we call it, managing your household expenses, as well as for your business as well. It's a great way of budgeting and looking at the investment that you're looking to generate as well. So when you're actually financially literate, you have the foundation of a relationship with money and its lifelong journey. So as Danielle alluded to at the beginning of the session, it's about sort of understanding money, understanding the journey that you're going through, and obviously having that financial independence as well. So this is quite a key part of the business. So it's great seeing what the numbers are coming in, what the numbers are going out, and how much profit you're making, but understanding the relationship with that journey, with the budgeting, looking at the growth that you're looking to achieve for the business is really, really key. And there are tools that you can use to understand that better and understand where you are as an enterprise, as a business, what position you're in within the marketplace as well. So I've got a question again, another poll, but in terms of giving you examples in terms of what you could use to understand, you know, and be more financially literate, there's things like market information, understanding the economy that you're in and the impact that it has on your customers. So again, as Danielle alluded to, you know, the current economic climates that we're all working in is very difficult at the moment. And there's different situations in different countries across the continent, across the globe. So it's understanding what's going on in that marketplace as well, and the impact it has on your customers, on your competition, and on the economy as a whole. So obviously one of the things I've asked there is how often do you speak to your customers? So looking at market information, understanding your customers and talking to them. So again, we have another little poll here. Christina, if you could pull that up for me, please. Thank you. So it's looking at what tools and information do you use to understand the financial position of your business? So are you looking at financial reports? Are you regularly looking at your bank statements? Are you looking at weekly and monthly sales reports? But also, are you getting feedback from your staff who's on the ground, that's working with your customers directly? So are you speaking to your staff, and are you speaking to your customers to find out what's going on with them and what financial issues there may be as well?
Can you see the poll? Can you please confirm that you see the questions?
We can see.
Okay,
I can see
great.
them.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great, someone's actually speaking to their customers. That's fantastic.
Sandra says that she can't see it. Sandra, it should have popped out as like a separate box. If you're on your phone though, it might not.
Feedback from customers. All right. Yeah, I didn't think about the use of the phone for the Zoom and using the polls and the whiteboards. Excellent. I can't emphasize much how important it is to look at financial reports, but also to gain the feedback from your customers, but also your staff, your employees. They're on the ground engaging with your customers and have that direct access to them as well. So it's key that you speak to your employees as well as your customers as well to get that understanding, which will give you the information to be more financially literate as well. Anyone got any questions around that before I end this poll? No. So a little bit of an inspirational quote here from an American businesswoman, and she's actually the chairwoman of Starbucks. So as you can see there, she says, "I was desperate to understand money, not to make it, to understand it. I wanted to know how it worked, and I wanted to know so that I would have enough and would be able to make good financial decisions." So again, it's, you know, she wants to understand money. Obviously, she wants, you know, not just to make it, but she wants to understand it in terms of being able to be more financially savvy and more financially informed to make the correct decisions in order to make that additional money within the business as well. So as you can see, this is very, very key in terms of understanding it and being financially literate and understanding the information that's presented to you as well as going out and finding that information as well. So that's Melody Hobson, who's actually the chairwoman of Starbucks Corporation. So that's internationally as well. Right, so why is it important to understand sort of basic accounting and financial and be financially literate as well? So you've all been going through the business planning journey and you will have devised or have key milestones to get you through that business plan that you've devised there as well. So by understanding the basic accounting and financial literacy, it's going to help you map the key milestones for the business to grow as well. So you will have set yourself objectives. It's going to help you get that understanding and map that out more effectively as well. It's also going to keep you on track. So, you know, understanding your financial position at any given time is really, really key in terms of developing the business, growing your market, communicating with your customers, understanding your financial position and what the cash in the bank really looks like is really, really important, because there might be things that come along that's going to get you off track slightly, and this will actually give you the understanding, can you counteract that effectively as well. It's also going to help you manage your cash flow as well. So there's seasonalities with all types of businesses, all industries as well. So you'll have really busy times, your peaks, and you'll have down times, your troughs. And it's understanding that, has the business got enough money within the business to carry you through the down times where you haven't got that much business coming through. But also you need to know that you've got enough money there in the business for the busy times, so you can actually manage the business effectively and get maybe additional stock if needed to service the additional orders that you're receiving as well. It's also going to give you the understanding to help plan your business to actually be more effective with the outputs of your plan, and is an effective tool for reviewing. And I'm saying plan, do, review is the key basis with any business, and doing that on a regular basis. I know someone there said they do that on a quarterly basis, which is fantastic. So especially given the current economic climate for the majority of countries at this moment in time, that's something that needs to be done on a regular basis. And like I say, it's, you know, it's just being aware of your position as well in the marketplace as well. So again, these tools and looking at your plan and looking at what's going on out in the economy will help to look at what your market position is as well. So again, it's a good way of looking at how effective your competitors are in the marketplace as well, and look at your position, your standing in that marketplace. So I'm going to move on to pricing. And this is a little bit detailed here, but it's very important that you ensure that your products and your prices are priced correctly. It's really, really important. And it's looking at what your gross profit is and your net profit margins to ensure that your business is actually viable, that you're actually making money, but also looking at, are your margins correct for the market that you're actually operating in? And you can find this information out there in the marketplace through resources that are available, which will give you sector market information in terms of performance and what the average gross profit and net profit margins would be. And I'll be coming on to that later this morning. So what I've got here are the 5 most common pricing strategies. So, you know, you'll all be aware of them. You might use different sort of wording or phrases for them. So the one that's probably kind of most commonly used is cost plus pricing. So it's calculating your costs for you to deliver that product or service, and then marking that up with a percentage, a markup that tends to be the sector average. And that's one of the most common practices that is out there as well. So, you know, it's just looking at the cost plus pricing model. You've got competitive pricing. So that's where your price is based, set on what your competitors are charging. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be cost effective and that's going to be a profitable model. It depends on the market, depends on the service or the products that you're delivering as well. And it depends on who your customers are as well. So competitive pricing, it's in line with what your competitors are charging there as well. So you kind of get lost in the marketplace there as well, because you're not standing out amongst your competitors there. There's no USP, there's no unique selling proposition there as well. You've got price skimming there. So this is where you set a very high price and lower this as the market evolves. So you enter charging a very high cost. People are aware you've kind of got that premium pricing point there as well. And as the market's growing and developing, you lower the prices. This tends to be used very much in terms of your technology and your high-end products. So your latest model of the big 60-inch TV screen, for example, if that's new to market and it's high definition and it's a smart TV, they'll have that at very high price point. People become aware, and as the market grows, they'll then lower the prices because there'll be the new technology coming in above that. So again, it depends on the sector and the market that you're actually selling to as well. You've got penetration pricing, so you're set at a very low price in order to enter a very, very competitive market. You then establish your customer base, you establish your brand. People are looking at you in a very positive way, and then you can start increasing your price that way. It's a very difficult thing to do in terms of setting a low price to enter a very competitive market, because it is always difficult to raise that. So you need to have a very, very good marketing strategy and brand development and brand strategy there that's going to allow you to actually increase that price there to get you to stand out from your competitors and say that it's value for money at the same time. And then you've got value-based pricing. So this is basing your product or services price on what the customers are prepared to pay. So that again is quite a common practice, but it can be quite risky, because if you're asking your customers what they're prepared to pay and you're giving them multiple choices, they're going to tend to go in the middle or the lower end. So again, that perceived value might not be there. But like I say, if your product is very high end and you know your customers are prepared to pay a premium for that, then you'll base your pricing on the value that your customers perceive your product or your service to be worth as well. So there's just a little bit about the 5 most common pricing strategies there for you. So in terms of choosing the right pricing strategy and looking at sort of what's acceptable within your customers' range, affordability, the things that you need to take into consideration, things like your operating costs. So what are your running costs for your business? Because obviously you want to be able to recoup that from your sales and have that gross profit margin there to be able to cover your operating costs. You don't want to be running at a loss. It could be that the product or the service that you're offering, that there might not be that many of that product around. It might be quite scarce, or there might be a lot of that in the marketplace as well. So again, that will have an impact on which strategy that you have. So if there's something that's sought after, but there's not that much availability, that's where you can look to charge a bit of a premium on your products or your service. Again, but if the market is saturated and there's a lot of that product available and you haven't got that unique selling proposition, that's going to impact on your pricing, because you'll be competing with a lot of competitors where they're actually probably lowering their prices in order to generate those sales. I know this is something that's quite of a concern to many businesses out there at the moment in terms of shipping costs as well. So those costs seem to be rising. So again, it's kind of taking that into consideration and making sure that you are covering those costs within the pricing point that you're selling at as well. Again, something that's going to dictate your pricing is fluctuations in demand. So again, if people are really looking for your product or your service, you can charge that bit more. But as that demand lowers and slows down, you're probably going to have to reduce your pricing in terms of sort of getting people to buy your product or your service as well. And again, it's very key to look at what your competitors are doing. So looking at how your competitors are marketing, what are they pricing at? What are the benefits that they're selling to your customer base as well? And looking at what competitive advantage that you've got over them that's going to attract the business to you as well. And then again, looking at that value-based pricing, it's the perception people have of your product or your service and the value that they attach to that as well. So again, if you're offering something that's seen of high value, high importance, then you can actually price at a higher price as opposed to something that isn't sought after, or your target market group is at the lower end of the scale. You want to be pricing accordingly there. So it's all around the perception and the value that you're offering there as well. So like I say, when you're looking at these different types of pricing strategies, it's also looking at the market that you're operating in, what's going on within that marketplace, within that economy, what's going on with the customers that you're looking to target, because you might need to look at adopting a different strategy if you're moving into a new marketplace where the economics are slightly different to where you're currently operating in as well. So you might need to change your pricing strategy according to the geographic location, for example, that you're looking to enter as well. So I'm guessing you've all used one of these, or maybe a combination of these pricing strategies that are out there as well. So I have another little whiteboard activity here. So I'd like you to just say maybe which ones you've used and what's worked for you, what hasn't. So what have been the advantages and what have been the disadvantages of these as well. I need to try and get the whiteboard up.
La question posée, c'est est-ce que vous avez utilisé certains ou tous de ces différentes méthodologies pour établir le prix? Si vous pourrez mettre ça sur le whiteboard et dire les avantages, les désavantages de ces différentes méthodes pour établir votre prix et votre expérience avec ces différentes stratégies, s'il vous plaît.
So what I've done here is I've listed the different models down the side. I've put a few examples in there as well. So looking at the advantages and disadvantages. So I say I can set my markup for the gross and net profit, looking at the cost pricing, but a disadvantage is my price wasn't competitive. And then I've looked at the value-based one there. I've put an example. My product is of high value and I want this to reflect what my customers are prepared to pay. And then the disadvantage is price too high and sales were very low. So it's just giving you a few examples there as well. So it'd be interesting to see which one of these strategies you've used, what's worked, what hasn't. Have you adapted, started with one and then moved on to another pricing strategy, because that's what the market information has been telling you.
And ladies, if any of you are struggling to use the whiteboard, feel free to pop it into the chat and we can always read out whatever comments you have.
I know the whiteboards aren't that easy to use. It's taken me a while to get used to them, so.
It's okay, we learn something new every day.
Yes, Eden, that's great. It does allow you to increase your brand value and awareness there as well. Yeah, Eden, you're right there. The whole sort of penetration pricing model is very difficult to get away from when you start in terms of sort of increasing that price and getting the customers to buy into that increase as well. It is very, very difficult.
And I think that's really an interesting point, Hina, because, you know, when we look at, for example, we go to the supermarket, right? And we see that goods are more expensive than they were a couple of months ago. And if we really want that good, we still go and we purchase it. Or for example, the cost of fuel might go up. And because we need fuel, we continue to pay the increase in price. But when we're small businesses, we hesitate to increase our prices because we fear that our customers are going to go away, right? So
Yes.
ladies, I think it's also an element of really displaying the value that you're offering to your customers so that it's not just about pricing, but that they understand, okay, you know, Danielle has to pay more for her everyday cost of living. So it makes sense that her prices will also have to go up to compensate for the fact that she herself needs to be earning more money to go out and pay for, you know, the same lifestyle. So yeah, I see that, you know, it can definitely be difficult to move away from penetration pricing, but at the same time, like, we're so used to it in every other part of our lives that I think it's also a bit of a mindset thing that we have to overcome.
Yeah, it definitely is. And like you say, it's the small businesses that suffer the brunt of these increase in general costs. So your big supermarkets and your big chains and your petrol stations can fluctuate and have that control, and we still will see the impacts of that and still purchase from them. It's the smaller businesses that suffer. And I find that by having that communication with your customers and kind of explaining, look, this is what, you know, this is the increase I'm seeing, and unfortunately I am having to pass that on to you. By having that conversation, people are actually understanding a bit more rather than walking away. So it's about having that conversation, that two-way dialogue, and explaining and saying, I'm not being greedy, I'm just trying to survive here as well. And I think consumers do appreciate having that conversation there as well. But yes, the small businesses are bearing the brunt of the cost of living crisis that's taking place at the moment, because the consumer doesn't see the difference now from going to a small business to one of the larger chains, because it's pretty much at the same pricing point as well. And it's that convenience aspect of shopping as well.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to close this off now. Oh, I've gone back to with me. Right. So, gone through some pricing strategies there. I say, looks like some of you have used some of them before and understand them as well. Again, it does depend on the market that you're operating in as well. What I'm going to talk about now, let me just get this slide, I've lost. Right. So it's now looking at what your capital costs are against your operational costs. And I think this is going to be something that's going to be at the forefront for most of you, because I know many of you are looking, you're at the growth stage or you're looking to scale up as well. This is just important in terms of if you're just in the process of starting your business as well. So you need to understand what the capital expenditures are against your operational costs as well. So capital expenditures are payments made for long-term fixed assets, while your operational expenditures are your day-to-day expenses. So that's the difference there. So a capital expenditure might be where you might be purchasing a building, some machinery, you're getting some IT systems put in place, you might have some vehicles, sort of, you know, looking to get fixtures and fittings within your business premises as well. And it can also be what we call intangible assets, such as any patents or licenses that you're looking to purchase for your business as well. So that would be seen as a capital expenditure, because that has a value that you would then, it'll be an asset within the business, and you would be able to resell that on if need be. Your operational expenditure would be things like your rental for your premises. So if you're renting maybe a shop, an office space, it would be maintenance and repairs on that, or any wages and salaries that you might incur, your utility costs that you'll have to pay, business insurances, overhead costs, your stock, your materials, all of that is day-to-day expenditure that you're going to have to be paying out on a monthly, could be weekly or monthly basis, however you're making those payments for your business as well. Again, in terms of some of your operational costs as well, like I say, if you've got wages and salaries, so you've got employees there, another operational cost is where you might look to subcontract someone in as well. So I know some of you there mentioned in the poll that you use an accountant, you have a quarterly meeting with them, they're pulling reports from you. That would be seen as an operational cost. So you're subcontracting that person in to do that piece of work for you. And that's an operational cost there. So that could be something, especially if you're looking at starting up or you're in the growth phase, where you might be looking to grow the business. Rather than employing staff, you could subcontract someone in for a short period of time who's an expert to help things get up and running. In terms of your expansion, it could be developing your marketing communications, it could be doing your financial management for you as well. So that's a short-term operational cost that you're engaging in there, as opposed to employing someone and having to pay their wages or the salary as well over a longer period of time. It could also be where you bring someone in on a short-term basis because you know you're hitting a very, very busy period, and you need that extra resource. So you could have someone in on a subcontracted or temporary contract there. So again, it's just keeping your costs to a minimum there as well. So I quite like this quote. So, it is thrifty to prepare for today for the wants of tomorrow. So really, you've got this Greek storyteller just basically saying, prepare today for what could happen tomorrow. It is kind of looking at those what ifs. It's looking at, what could be happening in that marketplace, what plans could I be putting down to minimize any negative impact or maximize any positive impact. So it's, prepare for today for the wants of tomorrow. I think that's a really important little phrase to have there. Maybe, in your office, on your wall to look at, just to remind you, yes, I need to prepare today for the wants of tomorrow. And those wants would be the wants maybe of your customers. It could be the wants of any stakeholders, investors. So it's just being prepared and planning. So in terms of your capital costs against your operational costs, some people might advise you to keep your capital expenditure to a minimum and possibly lease machinery until the business is in a position to actually self-finance it itself. So, when you're leasing equipment, it can be a cost-effective way of doing that. Again, that's going to be a monthly payment, so it would be an operational cost. But sometimes what you get in that, because you're leasing the equipment, if anything was to go wrong with it, it's covered through maybe a warranty or guarantee. It would get serviced on a regular basis, and that onus isn't put on you. It's on the company that you're leasing that product from as well. So that could be one way of growing your business, and keeping your expenditure to a minimum there as well. It's also a good way to be able to sort of grow your business organically without having to seek that investment or funding as well. So you can sort of lease the equipment, the machinery, the vehicles, without having that key overhead commitment, having to seek the investment and the finance. And you've got that on a lease agreement, and it could be at the end of that agreement, you could purchase that vehicle or that piece of machinery outright, or you just start the lease process again with a newer model. So again, it's just making sure you're keeping really up to date with the equipment and everything's to spec as well. It can potentially be a longer way to reach the milestones that you want to reach in terms of growing the business. Like you say, you're doing it organically. You haven't got all that investment going in and you're going to grow big. It's an organic process. It will be longer, but it's going to be less risky for you and the business. So again, it's having that financial understanding, being financially literate, and using the basic accounting tools that you have and the understanding that you have to keep maybe those risks to a minimum and grow more organically, as opposed to sort of trying to get really big really quickly and not being able to manage that effectively as well. I'm going to go through a few tools here. Now, what you'll be thinking is, well, then this is a session about basic accounting and financial literacy. And I haven't really been talking that much about doing your accounts, looking at figures and understanding them. I have kind of talked around that, but I haven't been pulling spreadsheets up and sales forecasts and cash flow forecasts and the like as well, because yes, you can look at the numbers, but you're not fully understanding them. So I'm going to go through some tools that you can use that's going to give you that understanding of what those numbers actually mean. So in terms of sort of planning for growth and forecasting for growth, there's something called the Delphi method. And if you're aware of the Delphi method, it is a marketing tool. But again, all aspects of your business plan all linking together. So your marketing links in with your finances, etc. Your branding links into your marketing, to your finances, to your key values of the business. So kind of looking at sort of the, the business canvas model there as well. So we've got the Delphi method. So this is a forecasting framework that's based on results of multiple rounds of questionnaires. And as I've mentioned already, right in the first poll, do you talk to your customers to get an understanding of where you are financially, what your customers think in terms of the value for money that they're receiving as well. So it's looking at your target customers. It's also looking at your stakeholders that are around you and potential investors. So what we're talking here is qualitative research, where you're going out and you're talking. And this is something you need to be doing on an ongoing basis, because getting that feedback from customers, stakeholders, and potential investors is going to help direct growth of your business more effectively as well. And then you've got your more qualitative research in terms of looking at your market analysis. So there are reports out there, there's Mintel reports. So this is a system, I'm not sure where you'd be able to access these in your respective countries, but they tend to be here in the UK within specific libraries where you can access this information as well. But you've got Mintel reports, which basically look at different market reports. So whether it's country-based, sector-based, whatever that might be for you, it's going to give you the current market information that you'll need. There'll also be out there industry consulting reports as well. So again, they're looking at what's going on in the industry in different markets and what that's looking like, whether it's growing or shrinking. And again, this is information that's going to be really valuable to you to effectively plan and grow your business as well. It's going to provide you with the economic information and statistics on your industry and the market, or the different markets that you operate in as well. So I know a lot of this information you might be able to get through your local government sort of hubs, councils, authorities. Again, there'll be census information that's being collected. Again, that could be quite useful for you as well. So there's research that you can do out there by talking to your customers directly, talking to your stakeholders, talking to potential investors, and then there's actual market reports and information that's there that's giving you the stats and the information that you need as well. So, like I say, the Delphi method is a forecasting process, a framework based on the results of multiple rounds of questionnaires sent to a panel of experts. And like I say, those panel of experts can be your customers, it can be stakeholders, it can be potential investors. It can also be your competitors as well. So, you know, there's things that you can do to find out information about your competitors as well. But that's the Delphi method. This next one kind of goes through what that process is. And you can see you select a panel of experts. So you might have different groups of target customers. So you'll break them down into groups. So you need to then talk to them, maybe in different ways, maybe different questions. Create a questionnaire of open-ended questions. So not just closed where it's multiple choice. You want to create a dialogue with the people that you're actually asking these questions to as well. It's then pulling those responses together and summarizing them and sort of analyzing them as well. And then looking at the expert lists, you know, in terms of the reasons of either agreeing or disagreeing with the report as well. You might not like what you've been told, but you need to take that on board as well. And then it's then repeating steps 3 and 4 to reach a consensus of that information as well. So again, this is something you would do at the startup phase, at your growth stage, at your scale up stage as well. This needs to be an ongoing, continuous thing. And I believe that given the way that technology is at the moment, you know, the opportunities are there to have that dialogue with your customers, with your stakeholders, with investors as well. And I think us as business people and as consumers, we like to be asked, we like for our opinion and to be valued as well. And by doing that, you're going to create more of a stronger relationship with your customers, your stakeholders and your investors as well. So the next thing, and I'm just currently reading this book here by Tim Galway, who's he's a world-renowned coach. He's a tennis coach and a best-selling author of The Inner Game. It's called The Inner Game of Tennis. And he's applied the basic principles of performance, looking at your performance and your potential, and it's taken that interference away. And, you know, I think the sport of tennis is very isolating. It's you up there by yourself, which you can apply to when you're running, starting and running and managing a business yourself. So it's looking at that performance, what your potential is to achieve what you want to achieve, but it's about controlling and taking away that interference or managing that interference that could have an impact on your performance as well. So I'm currently reading this book as part of some coaching that I'm going through at the moment. And it's definitely worth a read. It's not very, very big, but it's going to give you some real insights and sort of hopefully spur you on in terms of, you know, achieving the potential that you want to achieve through your performance by taking that interference away. So P equals P minus I. So it's there to help you increase your potential and to decrease any interference. So this interference can come in 2 different ways as well. So what is it? You've got internal interference and external. So on the internal side, I think, you know, when we're all kind of in the process of setting a business up, or you're looking at growing and that as well, some of the things that would be classed as interference might be your confidence. Yes, you might have started, but, you know, it's having that confidence to take it to the next step. You might overthink a lot. That's something I do myself all the time. So you might be overthinking things too much. You might feel that you've got some experiences, but not all the experiences that you need to achieve what you want to achieve. And again, that comes with as you're developing and growing your business as well. You might find things a bit overwhelming. you know, your attitude might sort of come across, maybe could be sort of maybe a bit too strong, or it might become too passive. And again, anxiety is a big one. And these are all things that any business will be going through, any business owner will be going through themselves on a daily basis as well. And then externally, you know, you're going to have factors that you might not have that much control over, but will be seen as an interference. So lack of funds, for example, could be one. Time can definitely be one, especially when you're a woman in business and you've got family. You know, you might also be employed as well as getting your business off the ground. That time, you know, can be a factor that's going to restrict your performance as well. So it's looking at managing your time more effectively and planning around that as well. It could be that, you know, there might be lack of resources there, that might be an interference as well, just as you're starting up, and the environment that you're working in as well. So we've mentioned cost of living and the economy and the impact that's having as well, especially for businesses that are looking to grow, or especially for businesses that are coming new into the marketplace as well. Like I say, you could have another job. So you could be employed as well as running your own business, and that might have an impact and interfere with what you're trying to do as well in terms of the commitment and getting that balance. And like I say, your family life as well can be seen as a bit of an interference. So it's making yourself really aware of what these interference factors are and what can you do to minimize that negative impact that these interferences might have. So in terms of the internal, it might be, you know, undertaking some coaching. And I think you're all doing that at the moment anyway, because you're engaged on this program. So, you know, you're wanting to move forward, you're wanting to better yourself. I know confidence can be a big thing for a lot of people, especially when they're looking to explore new markets or new options as well. So having that confidence, maybe looking at building your network there, talking to other business women that are out there as well in terms of what have they done, what are they doing to maybe minimize these factors that might have a bit of an impact on the development of yourself as an individual, but your business as well. And likewise, looking at the external stuff, maybe putting some systems in place that's going to help you manage your time, manage your money, and manage your resources more effectively as well. So have a bit of an exercise here. I think we're going to take about half an hour here to go into breakout groups. So in terms of overcoming interference, I think this is going to be quite key in terms of looking at what interference or obstacles that you're currently experiencing. This can be in your business, your career, your job, or it could be personal as well, because all three aspects, well, the career and personal, will have an impact on your business and your performance within the business as well. And that will obviously link into the financial aspect as well. So what interference or obstacles are you currently experiencing? What is happening now? And what is the reality of the current situation that you're in? And then want you to sort of think about what you could do about this. What else could you try? Or who could help you with this? Are there other resources, people, organizations that can help you with this? And then what you're possibly going to look to do, and when, and what resources you need. So what I'd like to do is get you into these breakout groups. Just have a think initially of a situation, and I'd like the group to maybe support the individual that might be sharing as well, if they've had a similar situation and have overcome that obstacle or interference that they've been facing there as well.
Thanks, Hina. So ladies, before we go into the breakout rooms, which Chiara and Christina will help us with, I just suggest that you take a photo of this slide, because once we go into the breakout rooms, you won't be able to see the share any further. us as facilitators will also have the questions, so we can help you along with the conversation. But if you want to take a picture, I would suggest to do so now. So shortly, Chiara and Christina will assign you to a room. When you see the pop-up come on your screen, please accept it so that you can go into your breakout room. Joanna is also translating these questions into French for our French speakers. But indeed, for the French-speaking room, we will have a French-speaking facilitator assisting you.
Okay, so we are ready to go. So half an hour, okay? See you later.
Thanks, Chiara.
Please enter the different sessions, the room you are assigned to. Ines, hi, can you see the invitation to join the session, the parallel session? And same for Josephine, Anazra, Lise. S'il vous plaît, est-ce que vous pouvez rejoindre la session parallèle? Il y a déjà Johanna et Lada qui sont déjà là. Et donc, elle vous attend pour commencer la session. Ouais, je vois Nazra, c'est déjà là. Joséphine et Lise, si vous pouvez y aller, ça serait parfait. Ines, can you hear me?
Right, excellent. Thank you, everyone. I hope you got something out of that breakout group there as well. We had a couple of interesting conversations there from people within the breakout session there. I'd like to bring Mercy in just to give a little bit of an overview. She talked about her challenges and how she's looked at minimizing that interference there as well. So Mercy, just a couple of minutes, please, just to go over what you initially talked about in terms of the challenges and some of the decisions that you've made that's helped to reduce that that interference, please.
Thanks, Hannah. Hi, everyone. So in my group, I was actually sharing out the challenges that I have first in terms of running my business and also in terms of my personal life. So I started my business in 2018, and this is my full-time job. It's my 4/7 job. And some of the challenges that I first was actually in the beginning was one, time management, because I have 2 children, and the time I was starting, they were quite young. So I was really having challenges in terms of managing my home, managing my business, because when I was starting, I was literally everything. I was the accountant, I was the marketing person, I was the salesperson, sometimes even sitting on the machine and sewing. So it was quite a bit very overwhelming on my side as well. Most of the times I find that I was really stressed. But as I was going into my business, I actually was sitting down and trying to see how do I manage my business, and also having different networks with different people who are running businesses has helped me to actually now manage my accounting. I actually outsource my accounting system. I have a company that runs my accounting. So every month they do my taxes, they do my payroll, they do everything that is accounts related. And but again, as they do my accounting, I also make sure that I am in control of it. I know where we are in terms of our finances. So the invoicing, we do our invoicing, which is we use there's a software that we use. So I'm able to see and track every transaction on my accounts, because they also feed in our expenses onto that accounting system. So we know what profits we're making, we know if we're making a loss, and having somebody actually also assist in terms of accounting, it has helped me to actually manage my financing, know where to put in more effort. And also it has helped me to know which products are actually even selling more, because everything is entered onto the system. This has actually helped me to run and actually also improve my business. And then also I've learned to delegate my work. So right now I have an assistant who actually helps me run my business, and also I've delegated some of the work that I was doing to them. And also I have a lead person in terms of the tailors. There's somebody who's a leading person, so they help also to manage the tailors. But again, as you know, as a small business, most of the times the workers need macro managing. So I also try to make sure that there whenever we are doing productions, I'm still in the process that happens during our production. And then also I've also managed to teach my husband also learn the systems that we are running in the business, because I believe as a woman who is married, and most of the times I need the support system. So he needs to understand what happens at the workplace, what we do, and he's been my support system. I think this has helped me to run my business. This is my 5th year, and now we're looking at actually expanding our business in terms of infrastructure, in terms of machinery, just to help us also increase our production capacity and meet the demand of our products on the market. So I would actually urge you ladies to actually also learn to trust and delegate your work so that you are not overwhelmed. Now I get to travel out often because of different activities that I'm doing in my business, and also the voluntary work that I do sitting on different boards. So because of the systems that I've put in place, I can actually travel out even for 6 months and my business will be running because of the certain systems that I've put in place. And also these systems are online. So I'm actually able to track and see what is happening in my business without being caught off guard. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Mercy, so much. So I think, you know, in terms of understanding your business, she's obviously got a very good relationship with her accountant. So she's outsourced that, but she's still involved, still reviewing, still understanding the financial position of the business. But then what she's done to alleviate some of that interference, so she can look at expanding the business, but also to get that work-life balance. So in terms of her family and time with the children and her husband, she's then called on someone to assist her in some of the day-to-day activities, which it frees her to focus on the family and other aspects of the business. And I love how you've brought your husband into the business as well. Fantastic. I don't know if anyone's got any other things they want to quickly share before I kind of wrap up here as well. No, right, I'm going to. So I hope you've all got something out from that little mini breakout session that we've done there as well there, in terms of listening to what other people's experiences have been. You probably find that you can relate to them, that you've been going through some of those experiences yourself. So in terms of tools and techniques, key thing there, and Mercy did sort of allude to that in terms of the session that we've had, in terms of setting goals, but obviously looking at reviewing them and looking at yearly, quarterly and monthly goals, and looking at managing how that's progressing for you, and having those key milestones to plan, do and review at as well. It's always worth looking at having maybe weekly or even daily targets for your business as well, just so you can sort of then be more effective in terms of managing financially, understanding the financial position of the business, but also in terms of developing your sales and marketing strategy as there. It's really key to have a bit of a focus, so it might be worth having a journal and sort of journaling the different activities, maybe starting doing that on a daily or a weekly basis. So what's happened today, what's happened this week, what have I learned from that, what could I do better, what networks have I developed, what contacts have I established. So it's a good way of just focusing and having a bit of a journal there that you can look back on, that's going to help you effectively manage your business, develop your business, but also for you to sort of look back and go, oh, that kind of worked for me, so I can maybe look at doing that again this time next year because it was something, an event that was happening. Or it might sort of, well, that's something I'm going to park and not look at because that didn't quite work as anticipated. So it is worth having a bit of a journal, a bit of a diary. Like I say, you need a plan looking forward, but always measure backwards, always have that review. So whether you do that weekly, monthly, quarterly and yearly, it's worth doing. And that way you can plan forward for the next month, for the next quarter, for the next year. But it's always worth looking backwards as well as moving forwards. And record your wins, record your successes, you know, and let people know about your successes as well, because that's going to generate more interest in what you're doing and what you're about. So record those wins. And key as always, you know, have your plan, have a schedule. Nothing's ever set in stone. It's always evolving because there are going to be these external influences, these factors that you've got no control over, that might knock you off course, but you can always then look to move back on course by having a plan and a schedule that you can adapt, that's going to bring you back to where you want to be. So just some general tools out there. So like I say, this session wasn't so much about this is a sales forecast, this is a cash flow forecast, this is what this means for you in that, but these are tools that you would use on a daily, weekly, monthly basis as well. It's always worth measuring your actual sales and expenditure against the financial forecast that you've developed as well. So again, it's keeping you on track, but it's letting you know if there are things happening externally that you've got no control over that might have impacted your figures there as well. So it's going to help you plan better for the future. So in terms of bookkeeping tools, you know, whether you use an accountant or manage this in-house, use software or traditional methods, have a look at what you're doing weekly. It's going to help you understand your financial position of the business a lot better. You don't have to be using the latest software. It's whatever works for you and whether you're getting that understanding and that information in terms of the financial position of the business. And like I say, you know, having that financial literacy and understanding that is going to help you sort of move and progress your business, enable you to sort of, you know, effectively start up, grow your business or scale your business up as well. And this is just a little thing that I've managed to find and pull together in terms of the rules of money. So first things first, you need to make sure you can pay yourself first. You need to learn, you need to know how to invest. So pay yourself, but investing your money in so you can actually build on that as well. Finance and money can be quite a fearful thing. Just don't be a hater of it. Just learn to embrace it a bit as well. And like some of the tools, hopefully, that I've gone through in this session is going to help you maybe love that a little bit more in terms of the money aspect and managing that. And on there it says, give every dollar a job. So you need to know exactly where each dollar, each cent, each penny is actually going on. What is that going to equate to? What is that going to evolve into? Make sure you spend less than what you're earning as well. A lot of business will go out and think, I need to go and spend, but they're not actually bringing in the money to cover what they've spent as well as pay themselves as well. Have a plan and set goals, which I think is key. That's been a continuous thing throughout this program. And don't be a slave to your money. Like I say, there's things out there, money will lead the way, but if you're understanding and you're financially literate and you've got that basic accounting understanding, you're not a slave to it. You're actually going to make that work for you. If you have it, don't flaunt it. Because that's not very nice. But again, you know, things can change and you might not have that there to flaunt as well. Keep your finances organised, and we've talked about that quite a bit in terms of understanding what's coming in, what's going out, when it's going out as well. It's a game and you need to learn how it works as well. So that understanding, being financially literate is a very key thing. And always have an emergency fund. So if there was something that was happening and you're having to react to that very quickly, that you've got some funds, you've got the cash flow there to be able to manage that effectively as well. Again, it's about making the money work for you. It's learning how to make money more passively. Use it to solve problems in the world, which a lot of you are doing. I'm hearing some great things. Know how to risk it and leverage it. So it's understanding that as well. Don't use credit if you have, don't use credit if you don't have cash. That's a really key thing. So try not to use credit or accumulate any kind of debt that way if you don't have the cash. It's just going to make it more harder for you to sort of get those funds and pay that back. And it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And what I say to people is sales is vanity and profit, your bottom line, is sanity. And that's what you want at the end of the day. It's understanding that there as well. So I have a little bit of a homework based on today's session. So again, key, it's looking at sort of, you know, your basic accounting and financial literacy. But, you know, if you've got networks, what networks do you have access to that you can use to sort of benefit yourself, both in terms of being financial literate, having the basic accounting understanding and moving your business forward. Assess where you are now and what policies and procedures you have in place. And again, there's been some great examples of this session of people that have put systems in place that's enabled them to grow and understand. What is your financial position, and do you have the resources to fill your plan for the next 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months? So think about what your current financial position is and where you want to be in the next 6 to 18 months as well. And what could you be doing differently to understand the financial position of your business? And just a final point, just remember, in terms of when you're looking at your homework, remember understanding your financial position and the market you operate in, and understanding your customers will enable you to achieve your goals and achieve the goals that you've set within your plan for growth and scale up as well. So that's the homework there from this session, just for you to think about. And again, when you have your next mentoring session, it might be something you want to touch on with your mentor as well and explore in a bit more detail. And that's it from me.
That's great. Thank you so much, Hina, for this insightful session about finances. And thank you to all the ladies for participating so openly in the breakout sessions. Before we wrap up for today, are there any questions that you have for Hina? Feel free to share in the chat or even to unmute yourself and speak. And lots of thank yous in the chat. Just lots of thank yous. Okay, ladies. So if there are no questions, then we'll just finalize today's session. But of course, if you do have questions afterwards, feel free to reach out to Hina. Her email address was on that previous slide, and ask away. I know that she's a mentor for a couple of the ladies in the group, but she's happy to answer your questions on a one-to-one basis as well.
Yeah,
right.
most
So
definitely.
thank you so much, Hina. Yeah, lots of great conversation today. Such an important topic. So what's coming next? Let's look ahead to next week. We have another training session next week. So Christina, we can go to the next slide. So next week, we're going to be talking more about financial management, but also about investment readiness. So how viable is your business model? How are you making money? How are you going to make sure that you can hit these growth plans? So today was really giving you the basic overview about money and helping you to think about what your own mindset is, what are some of the challenges that you're facing. But next week, we're going to get back into your business model and talk about that financial management aspect and how to make yourself more investment ready. So I know a few of you have already shared that you're looking for investors, that you are looking to get capital into your business. So next week's session is really going to help us to do that. We're then going to have another coaching session the week after that, and the plan follows on from there. Okay. No, Christine, that's okay. We can go to the next one. Don't forget the WhatsApp group. I know a few of you are still not in it, even though we share it with you every single week. So do use that group. It's a great opportunity for you to be reminded that sessions are happening, but also for you to get access to everyone's contact details. So for those of you who are having conversations, especially in the breakout rooms, if you want to continue those conversations, it's a great opportunity to do so. If you come across resources that you want to share with one another, if you want to share your wins, if you want to share your challenges, use that group. That's what it's there for. Okay. As always, the recordings and the PowerPoint presentations are all uploaded into the Google Drive. So if you missed anything, if you want to review anything, and indeed, if you want someone's contact details, go back to those slides and you will find it all there. Okay. Next up, you have the form. So please, Kiara, and make sure that you're filling in this form at the end of every session so that we can get your feedback. Your feedback is super valuable to us. It helps us to make these sessions better. It helps us to reiterate points that are missed and that we can cover off in later sessions. Okay. And then finally, if you haven't done so already, please connect with your mentor. Your mentor is volunteering her time or his time willingly to help you as much as possible in this journey. So you get 8 hours with that person. Make sure you're taking advantage of that. Don't be shy. Don't feel like you're being a burden. Don't hesitate to get in contact with that person, because once the program is over, those hours do not carry over. Okay, so make use of that expertise, make use of that guidance. I know that all of you are super busy. You're running businesses, you're running families, you're running your life outside of that. Your mentor is here to help you. So with any challenge that you're coming across, or even if you just want an extra pair of eyes on your business model, if you need extra support with any of the modules that we covered off so far, that is what your mentor is for. Do not feel like you are burdening that person. They want to help you. They are eager to help you. They are just waiting for you to reach out to them. Okay, so make sure you connect with your mentor and make the most of that relationship. All right, so we're over time today, so apologies for keeping you a little bit late, but we will see you again next week for our next training session, which again is going to be on financial management and investment readiness. Thank you so much for your participation. Hina, thank you again for all of your insights today, and we will see you all next week. Take care, ladies.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.